in the question and answer session because in the emails that were discovered from Channel 27, I was mentioned in there a couple times, and I just wanted to explain that. So last May, when this came about, it's supposed to be a large industrial project, okay? So who wouldn't want that for the town? So we voted on a pre-development agreement, and then a couple months later, I emailed Tim Wellnitz and I said, must be a lot of money to be made out there on data and storage. So apparently there is, which I didn't really understand what a data center was. I don't think any of us did a year ago. And then Janesville came about, and I said, it looks like Janesville got wind of the data center. Okay. I thought they were gonna take our project away from us, which I didn't even know what the project was yet. And then I didn't know they were gonna have data centers on every corner like Walgreens, but that's what it's turning out to be. So when I said the things I said to Tim, I was asking questions. And now I know what a data center is. Now that DeForest showed up, Janesville showed up, Beaver Dam showed up, Dane County's looking into regulations. Now we all know what data centers are and what they do. So I just wanted to clarify my comments that were in those emails. That's it.
For those that don't know me, I'm John Malazzi, I'm the town administrator, so thank you for coming tonight. I'm glad that we have this many people here, because normally at our board meetings, we don't have anybody show up, so it's good to see that citizens want to participate in what's going on in their community. So what I'm going to start out with, I was not able to attend the session at the public library last week. I had a previous commitment, but I had a citizen that was there that took notes for me and gave me the list of questions that was frequently asked. So I'm going to address those questions, and then we'll kind of open it up for a little while for questions and answers in case there's other stuff that I don't hit upon. So to begin with, why is the public just hearing about it now via news story versus the town explaining this exploratory process that began in the spring of 2025? The simple answer to that is an NDA. So an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. Whether you believe in them or not, it's very common in private industry for companies to require non-disclosure agreements. My personal feeling is I don't believe they should be in government. But I was not the administrator at that point in time. The previous administrator decided to move forward with it again because they were requiring it. The developer made us sign that in order to move forward with this process. And the reason why these companies do this is very simple. There are 6, 7, 8 companies, Google, Meta, Amazon, OpenAI, Project Stargate. They are all looking for land to build these data centers on. And if you're by a power plant and you're by high transmission lines, they are going to be looking at your property. So I'd be willing to bet you that if you interviewed 100 communities that had power plants or high transmission lines, they have people looking at property in their area. They're doing this all over the place. They're planning on spending $1 trillion, $1 trillion this year combined to put data centers up. So they are looking, like Carl said, they're gonna be like Walgreens at the rate they're going. Second question is, why the need for an NDA that makes the town look like they're hiding something? The Beaver Dam project was used as an example. As the project broke ground, it was being built for 2 months before the public knew what they were building. And again, it goes back to multiple parties bidding on the same land. So if you have 2 people bidding on a house, what happens? The price of the house skyrockets. And even though these guys are spending trillions of dollars, they still have shareholders that they have to report to, and they want to try to keep their costs down. So I'm not justifying it, but I'm just trying to explain why these NDAs are put out there. Next question is, with an 18 to 20-year-old build out, there will be zero money in the town coffers for 20 years while the town pays for all the road and environmental maintenance during construction. Can the town simply turn down the TID district? Absolutely. We do not have to do a TIF or a TID, either. It's a tax incremental district. We do not have to do that. And I'm very skeptical of handing public money to billion-dollar corporations. But again, we have to let this process play out and see what the proposal even is. To do a TID, that was explained to me today, all 4 taxing districts in this area have to sign off on a TID. So it has to be the town of Beloit, Rock County, Turner School District, and Blackhawk. And then it's made up of those 4 individual people on that, and then an independent citizen that's appointed to the board also.
Yeah, it's called the Joint Review Board, and there are five members of that board, 1 from each of the taxing entities, and then a member of the general public.
So nothing will be done in a vacuum. It will be publicly broadcast if we do that. But again, that is far down the road, and we have skepticism about doing that for these projects. We've never done it in the past because we haven't seen the benefit for it for the town. Next question is, go ahead.
One more note to that.
Yeah, by the way, this is Tim Kienbaum. He's our Community Development Director. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you to him.
One more note to that. It talks about road maintenance. The town in the past has had a policy specifically for the West Riverside Energy Center and the town solar, the Paddock solar fields, where as part of the development agreements for those projects, we will have the roads in the area evaluated by an engineer for condition and what shape that they're in before the project starts, and then again after the project completes. And as part of that development agreement, the contractors and the developer are responsible for making the repairs to the roads that come from damage based on their construction traffic. So that's already a standing policy of the township, that for these large construction projects, we hold the developer responsible for the damage that they do to the roads while they're in construction.
Thank you, Tim. The next question was, can there be town ordinances passed now that would tighten light and noise pollution before construction begins? Potentially we can do that. Normally we would build that into a development agreement where we would state what the requirements are for the development as far as noise, lighting, a whole host of other things. So yes, that is something we will definitely explore if this project even moves forward. Next question was, who is going to monitor the environmental impact of water and air when the DNR and EPA have been gutted in personnel and budget by the federal government? If not them, who? In being so strapped, how can they properly approve permits, etc., without the proper due diligence on their part? How can they be trusted to protect the public with their own diminished capacity? So I'm gonna split that into 2. One, the DNR is a state agency. They are not strapped budget-wise. They are fully funded. The EPA, I can't keep up with them because the rules and regulations are changing so frequently now. But again, that's beyond our control. We will use the resources that we have if this project moves forward to make sure that it meets all the requirements and they follow all the rules that are in place at the time. Next question was, these are trillion-dollar big tech companies. What is our leverage over them? What will we extract from them versus us giving them tax breaks that we pay for 20 years? Again, goes back to creating a TID or TIF. We're not giving them a dime without a TID or TIF, and even if we do have a TID, I'm very skeptical that we should be giving anything to these corporations. I think it should be the other way around, where they should want to prove that they want to be good citizens of this community and give us things that will help our community. We don't need to be financing them. The next question is, what is the emergency management plan in light of the recent Roscoe chemical fire that is still to be settled? Does the town city have the firefighting equipment and personnel to handle an emergency in a project this size? Over 400 acres of buildings and chemicals, water, electrical, etc. Short answer to that is, if we consolidate our fire departments like we're working on, yes, we would have enough personnel, enough equipment to do that. I would still expect the owner of the property to contribute to our fire department to help us do that. I need new fire trucks. I need new MSAs. There is a whole host of things that they could do to be good corporate citizens for this community. Next question, can we pass a pause moratorium like Madison for 1 year so everyone can feel more comfortable with the process and all concerns are being met? Developers want to move fast in other Wisconsin projects and initiate building before Wisconsin legislatures can create guardrails via laws like Minnesota and Michigan. if this project moves forward, the whole process will take time, at least a year, potentially even longer than that with the hearings and everything. And I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of faith in our state or federal governments to pass any type of legislation that will benefit us. I think we need to rely on ourselves to do it, and we will make sure that the rules are followed if this moves forward. Next question is, while the construction will take 2 to 5 years for initial startup, there will be construction jobs. After completion, they create 20 to 80 jobs per building. Is the impact of this project worth the temporary influx of construction workers, but leaving very few full-time employment, i.e., where is the real benefit of this center to the community in the long term? 2 parts to that question. One, construction, if it happens, would provide, I've read different figures, and depending on the size of this project, anywhere from 750 to 1,500 construction jobs for 3 to 5 to 7 years. That would provide benefit to the community, to the restaurants, bars, housing, everything. We won't know, though, until we get all the facts on this project, what the benefits would be to the town. What's going to be the assessed value? What's the size of the project? How is that going to impact your property taxes for the town, school districts, Rock County? Again, there's so much unknown that we don't know. I can't give you an honest answer and tell you, oh, well, this is going to go down or this is going to go up. We have to wait until we get more data if a proposal comes forward. So that was the list of questions I had. If there's other specific questions you would like to ask, I'll open the floor.
John?
Yep.
Before we jump to that, John had asked today, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. Like he said, there's a process for this. We're still early on in that process. We have not received any applications from a developer. We have not received any plans from a developer for what they want to do. The required processes, based on what I understand they're conceptually wanting to do, would require at least a land division lot combination. That would require public hearings at meetings before both our plan commission and the town board to get any kind of approval to reconfigure the properties. They would also require rezoning. That property is currently rezoned Q1, which is a resource extraction because of the aggregate mining that happens out there. To change that to another use, they would have to rezone, probably to some sort of an industrial zoning, but those rezoning applications would require, again, applications, reviews, and appearances and approvals before the town plan commission and in front of the town board. Both of those would have public hearings attached to those as well. If they chose to use what in our zoning ordinance is called a planned unit development, that also requires approval by the plan commission and the town board. They would be required to submit a site plan and a plan of operations. That gets approved by the plan commission. That one item doesn't specifically carry a public hearing component to it, but they still have to appear at a public meeting for that. If it would be a conditional use under our zoning ordinance, that again would require appearance at the plan commission and at the town board, and those meetings would both carry public hearings as well. We talked about if we wanted to change the ordinance, the light and the sound requirements that we have are pretty general. They're included in the zoning ordinance at this point. Any change to an ordinance, just like the one that happened at the meeting tonight relative to the height of the structures, requires review by the plan commission, approval and recommendation by them, goes to the town board, again, has a public hearing attached to that before it's got approval. So there are going to be, as this process plays out, a number of opportunities where meetings will get noticed. There will be public hearings. People that want to speak will get chances to do that. And so we're, as John indicated, we are way early in the process. I've used a couple of times a baseball analogy that people who are just hearing this sometimes think that we're in the bottom of the 9th inning and it's just about to be a done deal, when in reality, we don't have a plan. We haven't even decided if we're gonna play a baseball game with these folks yet. So give us some time. As the information comes to us, we will make sure that it gets reviewed, that it's made available to the public. All of these meetings are publicly noticed. Anybody who wants to come to them and speak will have the opportunity to do that. We just don't have any real concrete information at this point to be able to give you folks.
And Cameron's been radio silent with us since this whole story broke with KOW. So again, we're just kind of Cameron, the company that's affiliated with Meta, that we didn't even know the word Meta until Dana busted the story out and outed them. We haven't heard anything from them, which leaves us hanging in the wind trying to defend something that we don't know anything about. So it puts us in a very difficult position, and it just makes the wish list grow longer until we hear something from them.
I was in Tuesday, the night that we approved the pre-development agreement, it was Cameron. I Googled them. They didn't even come up.
It's a shell company created by Meta. And again, Dana, who used to work for the DNR, knew where to look for permits. And the reason we didn't find any of this is we get development requests all the time. 95% of them don't pan out to be anything. We're a very small staff. Besides Tim and myself, there's 2 other people that work here. We don't do a lot of due diligence until we have a concrete proposal in front of us, and then we'll sit down and look at it and weigh the merits of it. So, speaking of the pre-development agreement, the whole idea, and again, I was not part of that, but reading back through stuff, that was put together in order to protect the town from spending town tax dollars on projects that may never amount to anything. So we required Cameron, i.e. Meta now, to front us they fronted us 75, but they agreed to reimburse us up to 150,000 for 2 studies to be conducted. One was a water analysis study, a water usage study. The other one was a sewer study. And we were able to apparently get them to do a study for the whole area. So even if this project doesn't ever develop, we're going to have that information for future development on our sewer. The city of Beloit knew nothing about this project. There's 2 people in the city of Beloit that were aware of it. One, the DPW director, because he runs the water utility, and then his engineer that had to do the work and contracted with Strand, who is the engineers doing the project study. So again, the city of Beloit had no knowledge. When I talked to the city manager back on just last week when all this broke, she was not aware of this at all.
Again, the way that these developments typically happen is we'll get a call, and it might be through, might be direct to me, might come to the administrator, might come from Rock County, might come from the state. But somebody will contact us and say, we're interested in doing a development. I'm looking for a piece of property that is X number of acres, has these certain attributes, it's within a certain distance of the interstate or some other resource that they may need. So we'll compile a list of these are the parcels that may meet their needs, send it back to them. A lot of times we don't hear anything back at all after that. Either we've not made the list, they found something better, somebody else has responded earlier, whatever that may be. As the process starts to move back and forth, then you've got some back and forth. I would, for instance, in this particular case, we got interest, we're interested in a parcel, and then the question becomes, our proposal, our development that we want to do is gonna require X number of gallons of water and Y amount of sewer to get rid of. Can you guys provide that to this particular property? And they want it to be on a city water system, water mains and services rather than wells. For those of you who live in the township, you know that we do not own the water system, the city does.
They are contractually obligated to provide us water for development. So again, they can't tell us no. They had to do the study to see if their system could handle the flows that were necessary.
That's exactly where I was going with it.
Sorry.
They're under obligation to provide the water, to make arrangements to provide the water. Extensions into the township are paid for either by the township or the developer, per the agreement that we have. And then they take care of things like wells and water towers, but the water mains, water services, that kind of stuff are either at township or developer expense. And so we entered into this agreement with them because it's gonna cost us money to have the city go and do the studies. Can we provide water through the system 3 miles north of where their stuff ends currently? What's it take to do that? We had the agreement signed so that they fronted money to pay for those studies, which have not been completed yet at this point. We're still waiting for that data to come back. But that was something that we had done in the interest of protecting the town from spending a bunch of money to figure it out for that specific developer. As John said, while we are looking at that, a couple of years ago, I had talked with Bill Frisbee, who's the Director of Public Works for the city, about what would it take as we're developing, and at that point it was predominantly residential development farther north in the township, to have them extend water mains to offer water service to more residents of the town. A couple of years ago, they had Strand take a look at what it would take to provide water basically all the way to our northern boundary at Town Line Road. All this study did was continue to look at that, develop it further, but we wanted them, as long as you're gonna do the study, don't just do it on a parcel. What would it take to be able to put in how many wells, water towers, miles of main, river crossings, whatever it would take to be able to serve that big area on the north side of town for any sort of future development. And so that's what we have them studying at this point, not just a piece specifically for a developer, but what is in the best long-range interest of the town as a whole to be able to expand what we can offer offer for services to residents and potential future development.
Questions? I know you in the back had a question there.
Yes, I was hoping you could help me understand a couple of things. One is, it seems that there's a so-called Prairie Avenue TID that was certified by the state.
That's City of Beloit. It has nothing to do, all town properties around Prairie Avenue are excluded from that TID.
Okay, so if it says by the state, it doesn't mean that this extends
No,
somehow?
we do as a town, we're one of the few towns in the state, because of our assessed value, we can actually put forth a proposal to do a TID, but the specific TID you're talking about, the Prairie Avenue one, that is the City of Beloit, and they specifically excluded any properties on Prairie Avenue that are in the town of Beloit.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned earlier, there's a 20-year time span. What is this about? And the construction is, you said 3 to 7 years old. What is the 20 years?
So TIDs, tax incremental, I cannot say that word, tax incremental district, normally lasts 20 years.
Oh,
So that's what that 20-year time frame, I'm assuming, is referencing, because they kind of tie together.
I see. Okay. One last
Yeah.
question. So, in connection to what you just mentioned, which is the right knowledge is needed to make the right decisions,
Yes.
right? Also in reference to what the first speaker said. Is there any effort right now by the town of Beloit, for instance, or by other entities that would ensure that everybody who's involved in this decision-making has the right knowledge, set, the right information at their fingertips? Is there some kind of due diligence in, as far as
Absolutely.
education?
If this project, and I keep saying if, because I'm skeptical, because they've gone radio silent. I've talked to Cameron one time, and that was in January, when the previous administrator was leaving the job. We did a quick call to Dan, what's his name? Ken, the person that we've dealt with Cameron. Introduced myself, he introduced himself, and he said, I'll be back in touch with you in April. Now, this news story broke here a week ago or so. We have not heard anything from him. We're just left hanging out there. So my assumption is that longer it goes without us hearing anything, they've moved on to something else. Now, do I know that as a fact? I don't know anything. That's the problem. So we're trying to answer questions, and we're trying to just give you as much knowledge as we have. And to answer your other part of that question is, we're gonna require, if this does move forward, they are gonna have community meetings where they're gonna have rooms where they can sit down and talk to you and make their presentation, and they need to talk to us too. We need to know what's going on here so we can make an informed, educated decision.
I mean, more from all perspectives, not just from the person who wants to sell you the.
Right, but you have to hear their side of the story too.
Yeah.
And then we will listen to everybody, because that's how you make an intelligent decision, is you get every side of the story, and then you base it on the facts. So yes, that is all gonna happen if they wanna move forward.
Will those guaranteed be open door meetings?
Absolutely. I swear to God on my life, there will be no closed meetings regarding this. Everything will be open from the plan commission to the town board meetings to the committee meetings or whatever you wanna call them that they're going to have to do to present you.
You know,
I still haven't heard from Alliant Energy. I mean, they're a big player in this too. Where are they at? Do they have the power to provide it? Are they looking at doing something? Again, I don't know. I don't have those answers. Yeah.
I have several questions.
Yep.
What exactly does a pre-development plan contain?
So a pre-development agreement is really what it is. At the end, you have a development agreement that explains what this project is all going to be. The pre-development agreement was set up to provide a reimbursement vehicle for the town to get going on the water study and the sewer study. And there is like an exhibit A, I think it was called, that was part of that pre-development agreement. There were like 8 or 10 items on there, like a traffic study. Do you remember what else was on there? There were other things on there too. Nothing has been done except us commissioning those 2 studies. And the reason it had to go through us and couldn't go directly from Cameron/Meta is we have the contracts with the city of Beloit to provide water. It's our sewer system, so we engaged with an engineer to do the sewer study. And we wanted to be reimbursed for our costs.
So we've done the pre-development plan.
Yeah, a pre-development agreement was signed May 5th, I think, sometime last year in May.
And this Cameron won't let you do your pre-development plan without the township as an entity signing an NDA?
It's very, I came from the private world, and
Is
so
that
I,
true? Is that
yeah,
true?
that's true. So in order for us to move forward with this proposal, we were required to sign a non-disclosure
Yeah,
agreement. And
sign an
I've
NDA.
done these in private life several times.
Who
It's,
signed those for the township?
the administrator at the time signed it.
Which would be Mr. McMillan?
No, he's on the board. It was, Mr. Walnuts, Tim Walnuts, it was the administrator at the time.
Also, wasn't there a nitrate problem along the Highway 51 corridor that's been there forever already?
I'm not familiar with that, do you?
I know when they did the 208 sewer project in 2018, that part of that was to extend water, that's on the west side of the river.
Okay.
And I remember they were doing nitrate testing at the time, or asking people to turn in water sample tests from wells. But I don't know for sure exactly what the results were.
I know Rock River Shores was recently put, is it Rock River Shores that's on the riverside there? The mobile home park, yeah. I know they recently just went on city water like last year, but I don't know if that was because their wells were contaminated or what the reason was. But again, it was part of the water study that's being done.
So I'd like to speak to that because I live in the town of Brock.
Okay.
I live in Edgewater Estates.
Okay.
We are on well and septic.
Mhm.
We do have a nitrate problem.
Okay.
I know this because I own a licensed and certified daycare facility in my home for 10 years. And I had to send in water samples yearly. So I know that we have a high nitrate issue out there already.
Okay.
I want to make sure that our voice is still heard
Yeah.
too, because there's a lot of talk about the city of Beloit, there's talk about the trailer park. I think that people forget that there are other small communities around this area too.
You're our neighbor. Yeah.
I'm literally adjacent from driveway to driveway. I'm a half mile from this proposed data center.
Okay,
So I just want to make sure that everybody's voices are going to continue to be heard.
absolutely.
But yeah, we would like to be a part of that conversation where I'm wondering myself, have other entities been involved in these conversations? Have questions been answered and asked by the town of Rock, by the town of Turtle, by La Prairie?
I don't have answers. Unfortunately, I don't know.
I mean,
Because
that is-
again, if it's other communities, which I'm sure there are other communities around here, they're all signing NDAs.
But is that the intention of the town of Beloit, to have an open conversation or
that
to
is.
broach that conversation with these other
Even if I
townships
did,
around?
they could not respond to me because of that NDA signing, because then they risk being sued by the corporation for breaching the NDA. Fortunately for us, we can speak now because the news found this out and ripped the cover off the secrecy. So we can talk about it now. Otherwise, again, we were not allowed to do that.
Because like in my neighborhood, for instance, we have seen a more than doubling of the size and output of Alliant Energy in the last 10 years that we've had a home there. Now we're looking at facing the construction of an LNG plant
Yep.
literally almost in my front yard. Again, less than a half a mile from my house. So now you're talking about when we were asking about ordinances for noise, for light. You can go onto my Facebook page if you want to see what we see every night directly out of my driveway because I face Alliant Energy. So what we see at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, the noise that I could hear this morning, obviously we had a snowstorm today, so the noise that I could hear from the power plant already. So now let's multiply that by the potential of a data center, of a hyper AI data center on top of it, then maybe the possibility of this LNG plant going in as well. So I think that
I think Alliant Energy needs to come in and answer questions for us. I have questions
Yes.
for them. Again, what is the impact gonna be? Do the 2 power plants have enough energy to support a development like this? Why supporting the growth that we're seeing in the town with housing?
and we're
I don't-
already
I don't know.
struggling with our water table as far as our wells in our community.
And again, what
Where,
type of
where are we as
plants?
far as being able to
Yeah.
be put
And
on
what type
city
of plants
water?
are there, what type of data centers are there gonna be? Because
Right.
now with technology getting better, as I read, they're going to closed loop systems that don't use as much water.
No.
But
No,
again,
we're not gonna buy- we're not gonna buy that.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, what I read. So again, they need to come in and they need to explain it and they need to tell us.
They're
How
still
many
gonna
gallons
use
are these
millions
data
of
centers
gallons
gonna
of
use?
water.
So we can make an informed decision and see, is this worth it or not?
Because are we in a position in my subdivision of probably 200 homes?
Yep.
Are we in a position where we're gonna be able to be put on city water and at what cost?
Yeah.
At what cost to me as a homeowner and as a taxpayer to put city water in when I literally just built my home 9.5 years ago and made a huge investment in a well and septic system? So what does that look like for me as a taxpayer?
And with this water study that they're paying for, that will give us some idea too, that maybe there's potential, because like Tim said, it's the whole town they're doing the water
But are
study
we
on.
included in that?
But you're close, you're on the border there to the town of Rock.
This-
So we provide sewer to you already to certain parts, not you,
Yeah.
but certain parts of the town of Rock. So is that potential that could be done with the water? We'll find out once we get the study back. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Philip Gorman. I'm on the Rock County Board of Supervisors. I represent this area and where the proposed data center is.
Yep.
I was meeting with some senior county staff earlier today, who I found out a few days ago also all signed NDAs without informing any of the elected officials at any point. So I'm going to be putting forward a resolution to ban county staff from signing NDAs with private companies. Also, I think we should just send a directive that county staff, economic development staff should not be working with data centers going forward. I know I've gotten assurances that this was like a rendering plant or a smelting facility or something that would not have moved forward like they did.
a large industrial user.
Yep, exactly. So, and I know, and I really want to appreciate the candor and kind of your willingness to pump the brakes and be really open and transparent with us.
It has
And
to
I-
be what's best for the taxpayers and citizens of the area.
Totally, and I really hope the county will follow your lead, and I'm gonna keep pressuring them to do so. One thing I did wanna raise that our corporate counsel, our county attorney brought up today, I know it's a $700,000 square foot proposed center is in the letter of the intent, and I know you don't
But
have
that
all
was
the
never
details.
signed, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Have they
we've
given
never
you,
seen
have they
anything about it.
given you an indication of the like size of the investment, whether it's gonna be $1 billion project, and anything about
No.
property tax assessment?
Nothing.
So one thing I really wanted to flag that I heard from the attorney today is that because a few years ago we repealed the personal property tax, that basically you cannot count computer equipment towards the property assessment for tax purposes. So I just want to be really careful. If
Yes.
you hear about like $1 billion investment, all the tax revenue that's going to bring in, that they might say, oh, the computers don't count, it's just a warehouse and taxes at a do taxes at a really low level. So just, I'm glad to hear you're aware of that, and I just really want to
I
flag
did
that.
ask our assessor about that because we subcontract our assessing and they told us that, yes, it would be counted. But like these big things, they contract out with other companies that will constantly challenge their assessment because then those companies get a cut of what their tax is lowered. So again, I'm aware of that. There has to be some guarantees if this even moves forward. What is going to be the benefit to our community?
And just a real quick detail, this joint review board for TIF,
Yeah.
has that been formed yet, or
No.
are members appointed to
No.
that? Okay.
No.
I'm gonna make sure the county chair puts me on that as the county representative.
And
If
again,
that
there would
does
have to be a
form,
representative
Yeah.
from Rock County, from Turner, from Blackhawk, from the town of Beloit, and then a citizen
Yeah,
from
and
the
as-
area.
great, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Is that similar, that joint review, is that similar to what Janesville put together for their
I'm
data
not-
center?
I'm not familiar with that. I do not
No,
know.
How is it different?
The joint review board that he's talking about is specifically required by the state statute in order to get approval to create a tax increment finance district. And I guess just quickly for anybody who's not aware what that is. The tax increment finance district is a mechanism in the state ordinance that says that you create the district, it gets approval by this joint review board, but the intent is you take the current assessed or the current taxable value of the parcels that are within the district, and you basically cap what the taxing entities are collecting for taxes at the time that the district is formed. So if, for instance, you've got 20 properties within the district and they're currently taxed at $1 million, that number stays fixed for the payments to the taxing entities for the life of the TIF district, typically 20 years. And so they continue to get paid what they have been paid. As new development happens within that district or within those boundaries, that increment, the additional tax above what the rate was when the district was formed, is captured and then gets paid back to the entity that created the TID in order to pay for planning, improvements, and other expenses that go with the projects that were in the project plan when the increment finance district was created. So it allows you to take an increase in taxable value over a set period of time and basically be able to bring those dollars forward by virtue of borrowing with that to pay for it in order to be able to create infrastructure projects and to do things that are related to development within that district. So for instance, that district that was mentioned on Prairie Avenue in the city, they took those parcels, they put them in, the tax value of those is fixed at the creation of it, so they can now use money as properties are developed along that corridor to be able to pay for those improvements. Hopefully that gives you a better handle on what it is that we're talking about.
Thank you. Yes?
So related to what we do know, the water study that's ongoing, sounds like that's an initial critical first step. You said it's ongoing. When do we anticipate the results from that? And will those results be made public?
Do you know? Do you have a
I'm
plan?
expecting that we probably see them, I'm hoping not this month.
Okay.
They were looking to be able to get it finished in March, so I would expect to be
Yeah,
able to see
to answer your other question, it will be made public. We're
Okay.
not gonna keep that a secret. I mean, everything's open now.
And then related to holding them accountable to being good corporate citizens, what other studies could we possibly ask them to go? Is there a more
Air pollution
comprehensive
study.
environmental study
I
that
would
we
like
could?
to have a new air study done. I know one was done several years ago, but we were having wildfires at that time. They should do a baseline so that we know where we're at right now, and then we can put that in a development agreement if we see, oh, wait a minute, we're having another study done, we're higher than we should be, or whatever it is. I'm not familiar with that, but yeah, I think that should be part of that agreement that we have with them if we move forward.
What would be the recourse then if we move forward and we have that baseline study and then we do another one that says, oh, these levels are rising, what's to then prevent them to halt production?
That would be part of the negotiation process with them, and it would be written into the development agreement. But I'm not gonna have them, I live in this community. I drink the water, I breathe the air, I do not wanna live somewhere polluted. So we're gonna make sure that they do, if, again, I keep saying if, that they're gonna do things the right way.
I have a couple of points I'd like to clarify before I ask my question. Was it that there's a lot of pre-development agreements that are signed by the town for a lot of different entities that annually?
No, there's not a lot, but there's I was the finance director before I became the administrator. So I have never seen one before. Have you come across any just pre-development agreements?
Typically, we don't. A lot of it, I think, is driven based on the potential size and scope of
That's
the
what I would say.
developments.
I mean, you were talking $150,000 because these studies they're expensive. Engineers are not cheap, and we didn't want to take tax dollars and pay for them.
Most of the development agreements that we that we have don't rise to the level where we would do a pre-development agreement. Typically, it would be for a business that's located in the township that either already has water and sewer or is far enough out that can't get it. And so we typically will do with them, like we do with the developers that are building houses, it'll just go to a development agreement, which lays out the terms of what they're gonna do, what kind of a time frame, what they're promising to deliver to the town, what the town is obligated to be able to deliver to them, and all of that stuff is laid out in those agreements. So we have, to directly answer your question, we have not had, I don't think before, any pre-development agreements, or very few of them. Most of the time, we just negotiate a development agreement as things move forward. This was kind of a special case because it was gonna require those studies to figure out if it was capable to feed a development in that area at the level that they were talking about it would potentially need.
Okay, thank you. So, with that being said, you said that, the past administrator, Tim Wellnitz, introduced you to Cambridge.
We had a phone call as he was leaving, 2 days before he left, 3 days, something like that. He called up Ken, the person we've been dealing with Cameron, to introduce me, telling him I'm the new administrator, and hi, how are you? I'll be back in touch with you in April. Okay.
He says the radio silence since the story.
Radio
broke.
silence.
So you hadn't heard since that call, you hadn't heard from
No,
Cambridge?
he said he would be back in touch with me, with the town in April. And so now, I don't know, I'm standing here before you, trying to defend something that I don't know what I'm defending.
To give just a little bit of context with that, the last discussion that we had with them before John was talking about, we kept telling them, we need more information before we can do anything. At what point will you, Cameron, be ready to bring us a concept, a proposal, something? In quarter number 4 of 25, they were not ready yet, even into early in 26, in that January timeframe that he was talking about. The last discussion we had with them was that they were going to take quarter 1 of 26 to be able to start hopefully finalizing some things enough in their design to be able to come back with a concept in quarter number 2. I think that's where they were talking about when he says, we'll talk to you in April, that they're trying to get some things finalized on their end to bring us additional information. That's why, at least partially why I think we
Well, I
haven't
wish
heard
they were
anything
up here and not me talking to you right now, because I don't have answers for you, and it's irritating.
It almost sounds like we would like to have spoken with Tim Wellnitz about what he had.
And I don't know how, and again, Tim, I don't know how much he was told, how much he inferred. I don't know, and I can't answer those questions, but it should be Cameron that's in here talking. They need to get in here if they really want this project to happen.
So I guess ultimately my question is, after you guys clarify those points,
Yep.
is, did it not seem like a red flag that he was especially introducing this pre-development agreement partner to you before he left? And how rare that is, and how that shell company, it really wasn't coming up on your radar.
Yes and no, but like I said earlier, we are a small staff. I'm still doing the finance job / treasurer job. I didn't think twice about it, because I was told by this person, we will be back in touch with you in April, and I thought, okay, that gives me plenty of time to be able to figure out what we're getting into here. And again, nothing's been proposed. We have not seen a site plan. I know in that letter of intent that was never signed, it said a 700 square foot worth of buildings. What does that even mean? 700,000, yeah, but what does that mean? And is that one building? Is that 10 buildings? 20? I have no idea. So again, my thinking is, I wanna see a site plan. I wanna get some real hard facts that we can discuss. And then I don't wanna be talking about it. I want them in here talking about it, answering your questions, instead of me standing up here right now trying to answer questions I can't. So yes, if I could go back, would I have done a lot more digging? Yes. I thank Dana when I talked to her on the phone. I'm like, thank you, you did a great job of exposing this because we never knew it was Meta. We had no idea. And thank you for being able to do that for us. Yes, sir.
Since what we know right now today,
Yep.
don't you think we should be putting some type of ordinances in, height on buildings, light, air pollution, all that, right away before we get this rolling?
Well, sir, the only thing I can say to that is if without details, how would we know what to do? Are these buildings 10 foot tall, 100 foot tall, without facts, how do we create ordinances that would prevent something from happening? And then couldn't they just design the buildings to get around those ordinances?
Can we learn from these other places?
We could, but from what I've read, again, take it with a grain of salt, they're different sizes because the technology is changing all the time.
We can't use some type of, like surrounding, like town of Beloit versus some other town and where they're got these at?
We can take a look at that for sure, but I don't know if writing ordinances to try to prevent something.
It'd slow them down.
Well, we're gonna slow them down just with the fact that we're gonna make them come in and talk to everybody about what's going on. And there's going to be public hearings where they're going to have to answer questions and where you will get a chance to speak to the plan commission and the town board to state your opinions about whether you wanna move forward with this project or not. And it's all part of the big picture that everything has to be put together and then we can weigh it out. But right now, there's so many holes. I don't even know where to begin, because we have no hard facts.
I guess, excuse me,
Yep.
I guess I ain't too worried about me, I'm worried about the next generation, the
Yep.
generation beyond.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm worried about my grandson.
Yeah. And again, that, a lot of people are concerned with what these data centers are being used for, AI and all of that. I mean, Meta's a huge corporation, and there's a lot of people in here that use their products all the time. So again, they have tons of money, and yeah, we're gonna be careful with this, and we are going to listen to everybody and get their opinions.
Well, also regarding the lighting and all of that, when it comes to the planning commission, we require a site plan. No matter what building it is, because we do a lot of buildings every year, new buildings, reused buildings. We make sure that the light typically is not gonna shine on neighbors. Now, something like that out there, I don't know, but like, we do it all the time where we require the lighting so that it's downlit and it's not, there's not a lot of light pollution.
Do they ever follow up, I mean, like, the lady there talked about where she lives, do they ever follow up and say, hey, you're way over the lighting that you got going on now?
We have our duties director right here, and then we also have code
Code
enforcement.
enforcement will go up.
We do.
So again, I don't see anything wrong with taking preemptive measures when it comes to sound and light. I don't know specifically that there is any ordinance in my neighborhood
But
for sound and light.
You're in the town of Rock.
Right, but
there.
still, I don't know that there's any ordinance.
And I don't know.
I'm still in this community, I'm still a community
I
member,
understand.
so I don't know if there's an ordinance. I live in a no streetlight community, and I'll tell you what, we don't need streetlights. So you could take a page out of our book, and there's no reason why there couldn't be some determination made to, you know, to be preemptive with what's going on with this current situation. Come to my house at midnight. I'll happily let you put a chair in my driveway. I mean, it's like the 4th of July out there, and there's gotta be something that we can do ahead of time to at least try to save our community the hassle of what's gonna come after. Because what are we gonna do to them if they break this? Is it really gonna be something that we're going to be able to do, or are they just gonna throw money at the problem?
I don't have an answer for you right now, but that's something we can take a look at and see. Yes, ma'am.
The county commissioner who brought this project to the last administration seemed to be very heavily involved in the process up to this
County
point.
commissioner?
Moving forward, how much involvement or influence will he have in this process?
You mean the county development director?
Economic.
Yeah, economic. I guess, and correct me if I'm speaking out of turn. His job is to unite projects with communities. That's what he does. He will have absolutely no say in this project moving forward. It's up to us, the people in this room, the people behind me, that will decide whether the project moves forward. He's a matchmaker, and then he goes away and does his other matchmaking stuff. But yeah, he has no say in how the project moves. Yes, ma'am?
When the land was offered, was it stated that there are schools a quarter-mile away?
We don't own the land. That's the problem. It's a private party that owns the land. they could sell it to anybody they want. We have no control. The only thing we can do is when the land is sold, we can say what goes on that property, then we have some say.
But just.
No, we really don't. It's zoned according to,
They
it's
can keep it
zoned.
a quarry,
They can keep it a quarry, they can come to us and they can ask for a zoning change.
yes, but then we'll have to know what they want to change it into.
We will have to propose, but there are limits to what we can tell them they can or can't do with private property.
Yes, but we just proved that today, that if we don't want a business in the residential area, we can say no. So, we can control it.
And moving forward, they contact you, they wanna do something.
I hope so.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I wish somebody would contact me.
how is the community going to be aware of that happening and be part of what's gonna be happening moving forward? And along with the rezoning?
Yes.
Do we have any
Yes.
input on how it can be
Yes.
rezoned as neighbors?
So if you follow our website, we post all our agendas. And I have to cut this off here soon, because I have to go visit my mother. I want to get email addresses for the people that run the Facebook pages, because I will send notices out to them that we are having hearings on the data center. When I get details, I will give it to the people that run the Facebook pages. It's total transparency. I have nothing to gain by keeping this secret. I don't have hair to lose. It's gone. And I used to have hair, not before this, but a long time ago. No, I'm old. But yeah, I want everybody to be aware so they can have a voice. So everybody can collaborate with this to see. And I'm not saying I'm for or against it, because I don't have enough information right now to make a decision. I could put on my administrator hat and say one thing, and I can put on my finance director hat and say something else. But until we have more details, I can't say anything. Yes, ma'am.
Is it the case that in order to extend water to say like Town Line Road, that the city of Beloit would require that we be annexed?
No, absolutely not. They cannot annex us because of that.
Are they interested in
No.
regionalization or?
They're interested in consolidation of the fire department because we are both dying with that's a terrible word to use. We're both struggling finding people to join our fire departments. And so that's the whole reason why I started the conversation with the city, to bring our two fire departments together to provide better service to everybody in the community.
And that study is a 6-month study and we're like in month 1?
We're moving pretty quickly with that, hopefully.
So when will that, that's a separate
Yeah.
whole thing.
No, I'd like to talk about that, because that's actually something that's beneficial to the community, but hopefully there'll be news on that within the next few months.
So, okay, hypothetically, if you learned that it was a huge hyper-scale data center and it was Meta,
Yeah.
where would you stand on that?
I would have to get the details on it to get the facts about how is it gonna impact our community in a negative way, but also how is it gonna impact us in a positive way? Because I know everybody has feelings, and I get that. I take an analytical approach to it and say, okay, what would the benefits be, and weigh them versus what the costs are. Not every good project means it's a good project for the people in the community. Just because the dollars add up doesn't mean it's a good idea for the people here. We have to weigh that out, and they have to talk to you. It's not me they have to convince, it's you and then the people behind me they have to convince.
If this came before, hypothetically,
Yeah.
if it came before the town board, how many votes would it take to say, yeah, green light, go Meta, for
It's
example?
a 5-person board, so it would take 3 votes to move it forward. Yes, sir.
Can an NDA in general have potential changes to the town's bylaws?
I don't understand the question, sir.
Well, there could be quote-unquote streamlining of bylaws, your bylaws, for example. And, since we don't know what's in an NDA, is that a possibility?
I guess I will tell you this, as long as I'm the administrator, I won't be signing any NDAs. I just don't
Yeah,
think,
but the last.
the next one, again, it's a case-by-case basis. Could the board decide that they don't approve of the administrator signing NDAs? Absolutely. They can pass, or they can put it in the contract that says anything that requires an NDA, you'll bring before the board and let us talk about it before you sign it. So, yeah, something like that could be done.
The one with Cameron was approved by the board in an open meeting.
Yeah.
So they can ask us to not disclose things in the agreements, but they cannot ask us to violate state law or anything else. So you could not approve the NDA and do it in a closed session. It must come back to an open session. So, there are some of
There's some
those
safeguards,
protections
yeah,
there
that
as well.
people will know about it.
Thank you.
Can we get on your agenda for the town board going forward?
Um,
So that we could be officially recorded as, we're the
I would
people,
be-
we would like to talk about this, not off the record and.
The only concern I have with that, ma'am, is until we actually have a proposal where we have something concrete to talk about, I'm not in favor of having public comment on something that may never exist. I will agree that I will start doing a board update, so I wanna keep the people behind me informed about what's going on. And if there's any news, like I said earlier, I'm gonna get the Facebook email addresses for the people that run the Facebook page. And on our website, everything will be posted as far as open meetings or any additional information we get regarding a data center.
Okay, well, I get that, but if, let's suppose this presentation or this project materializes on April 1st.
Okay.
Well, I think there's a fair number of people in this room that would really like to be heard on that officially. So could we please, I guess I'm making a request, can we be involved?
If the proposal was to come to the township on April 1st, it would have missed the deadline for reviews and for meetings until at minimum the May meeting. And so there would be public notices and all of that information would be made available. And there would be, like I mentioned before, the public hearing information, and the town board would also have public hearings before them to address those things. That would be the very soonest that anything could happen. Based on the size and scope of the proposed project, I would expect it to take longer and there to be more steps in that process. But from the time that we see it, the very fastest it could possibly come to any kind of an approval or being reviewed in front of the town board would be probably 45 to 60 days. So it's not like they can show up and be on an agenda a week later. All of the planning commission requirements all have posting or submission requirements to be on an agenda of 30 days before the meeting happens.
Would you be okay if we did one agenda a month? Where you would be allowed to come in and do a
No, I
public?
guess
You want everyone?
I feel like, I don't know, show of hands, how many people are really interested in weighing in on that?
For every meeting?
Why not?
The county board doesn't limit public comment to agenda items.
Yep.
There are a lot of companies, it's strictly enforced time limit, but it's open to everybody, and it does not shut down our meetings, it's not entirely disastrous, and it allows people to not have to know exactly if something's happening to come speak on matters.
I'll talk to the board
Side,
chairman and ask her
I'd encourage
and see what she says.
I think that's fair, we're the people and,
Yep.
you guys work for us and there's just no getting around that. So, that's the truth.
Or is it a fair ask for us to be notified when or if these plans are
That's what I
presented?
said, I'm going to contact the people that run the Facebook pages, and our agendas are posted Fridays before the Monday meeting.
No, but I'm saying like, if Meta comes to you on April 1st
Yep.
and they provide you with these plans, are we going to be notified immediately that the plans have been received and they are in your hands?
That's what I would do with emails to the people that run the Facebook page and put it out on our website.
And we do have sign-up sheets for anybody who wants to be involved.
Okay.
That'll be in the back.
Yeah, I would just like, if I can get the email addresses for the individuals that are running the website or the Facebook pages, because I'll email them and then they can send it out to whoever that they care to send it out to.
Some people who don't do Facebook,
Yep.
and then, so.
It's on
is
our
there
website.
something-
Yep,
okay,
it'll be on our
website.
website.
That's Beloit, what is the?
Town of Beloit, wi.gov. If you just Google Town of Beloit, it'll take you to the landing page for our website.
And then for the rest of us, if we want to start boycotting Meta, don't start now, because we still need.
Well, I'm all for that. I don't have Facebook, so I don't use it.
And
Or
just
Instagram.
so you know too, back here, we do have QR codes and we do have an email list. So we are sending out regular email updates.
Good to know, thank you.
So again, I have to leave, people, I am sorry, but thank you very much for coming. There will be more communication if this moves forward, and I will talk to the board chair about doing that and getting it on the agenda so people can come in and speak.
John?
Yes, sir.
Just a second. Lady at Drum Rock.
Guys, please sign up for email notifications, our Facebook group, everything's back there on the QR
Okay,
code.
folks.
To you, no, one of the things that I considered right away when I found out what this involved was to consider the people in our township just north of me. And I was going to make a trip with another town supervisor over to Pleasant Prairie, where they have one policy, and find out about the noise
Yes, ma'am.
Classmate of mine lived in the same neighborhood.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Jim Denver.
Jim, oh, okay. Nice to meet you too.
I met you too when you were in this area.
You probably did.
Tom Walker, did you know him? Lived on Sheridan.
Yes, okay. And there were so many, God, my mom and dad lived in that neighborhood forever.
My grandmother too.
Yes, yep. You know what? I'm terrible at keeping secrets. And they're putting me in such a terrible spot because they're asking me to answer questions. Yeah, it sucks. It's not fair.
My name is Ron.
Ron?
I second.
Ron, second.
I second.
Okay?
But I know Tim well because we just moved to the property that's right across. We face Tim's been up my house. I had to get permits to do a couple driveway upgrades and we should be honest. And Tim, I talked to Tim ahead of time.